I think Detroit has a problem, and it's a problem that every successful NBA team eventually has to deal with. The Pistons have two incredibly young players, Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren. Both have shown major flashes of being part of the future for the Pistons, and ideally, we'd like to keep them both. But here's where things get a little bit complicated. The Pistons aren't just trying to build a good team, they're trying to build a championship team around Cade Cunningham. And eventually, they're going to have to decide how to allocate their money. They're going to have to push the chips all the way in. And when they do, they need to decide who they will push the chips in on. So this take might split the room. And I might get some comments in this video that say, you're an idiot. Fair enough, At the end of the day, this is my thought, but you guys are more than welcome to disagree with me. I don't necessarily think we should pay both Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren, but let me explain why before you guys write me off. Cade Cunningham is the foundation of this team, and Cade Cunningham is at his best when he has space. He's an elite pick and roll operator. He's one of the best passers in the league. He can score from all three levels. He can manipulate defenses, get downhill, create opportunities for anyone on the floor. But where I am having an issue is when him, Ausar, and Duren are all on the floor together. The court starts to get really small for him. Let me show you why. Duren's offensive value comes mainly around the rim. He's at his best when he is catching lobs, finishing dunks, making those baskets near the rim. Unfortunately for him, Duren is not a three-point shooter. He cannot shoot threes. So his defender has no incentive to go out there and follow him for the most part. And then of course there's Ausar. I feel like we don't need to go into detail about how amazing he is defensively because we know what he's capable of there. However, we also know how capable he is of making an NBA three-pointer. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? I'm sure if you're a Pistons fan, you already understand this struggle. So Duren's defender can sit in the paint. Ausar's defender can completely sag off of him if he's at three-point range. When Cade gets going downhill, it's almost like he's doing a 3v1. There are multiple defenders waiting for him, and that's what's causing the issues in my eyes. Cade is one of the best playmakers in the NBA, but when he has to account for two extra players, as well as his player, that's where I see an issue. I want to make something very clear as well. I feel like I'm 2 for 3 so far. This is my third YouTube video. I'm 2 for 3 on accidentally shitting on Duren. And I don't mean to. I don't. I really like Duren. He's one of the best finishers in the league, tremendous lob threat, as previously mentioned. And if Duren keeps developing the way he has the last 2 or 3 years, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be the top 3 center in the NBA. Excuse me. But now the next part that I want to touch on is the more realistic side of things, the salary cap situation. The salary cap changes everything about this situation, in my opinion. Right now, the Pistons are in a little bit of a weird spot. Luckily, Cade is on his extension. He's good. He signed for, I think, 5 years, $269 million. So he's taken care of. However, Ausar and Duren are both on their rookie deals still. For now, that's awesome. That means that we have flexibility for the next year or so. However, this is going to put us in a pinch later. Let's say for the hypothetical, we re-sign both of them. We give Jalen Duren $40 million a year, which is at the top of the range to be fair, but never know. And we give Ausar Thompson $30 million a year, which are the reports I've been seeing. Including Cade, we have now invested $124 million into 3 players. That is roughly 2/3 of our salary cap going to Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and Ausar Thompson. And the problem isn't that they're not good. The problem is that they can't shoot a fucking basketball. You know? You're spending an enormous amount of money on 2 people who can't space the floor for your superstar. And that's why I'm saying I think Detroit should be careful. So that's why I think this is a much more important decision than people are giving it credit for. You need to think about what would be best around Cade Cunningham. They need shooting. They need players who can defend multiple positions. They need people who can make Cade's life easier. We're not looking for who's the better player. We're looking for who gives us the most value and potential to win a championship. My dad always said defense wins championships. And that's why I do personally believe we should pay Ausar Thompson. Ausar's offensive game is obviously not up to par with what it probably should be. We know that. His jumper probably needs some improvement, but here's why I'm willing to bet on him. Ausar's weakness is something that I believe is improvable. Let's say he becomes a 33% three-point shooter in the NBA. His entire offensive profile changes. Teams can't simply let him sit in the corner anymore, untouched, unscathed, 15 feet of room. Cade has more room to operate. Ausar is more dangerous on cuts. It opens up the entire offense so much more. And this brings me back to my first video I made on my account. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I talk about why paying Duren the max would be outrageous and delusional. This sounds so mean when I say it, but Ausar is a 99th percentile defender in the NBA. Maybe one of the best defenders I've ever seen with my own eyes. He's elite at something. Jalen Duren is not elite at something. You could maybe say athleticism. You could maybe say rebounding. But he doesn't have a 99th percentile trait, in my opinion. Ausar Thompsons are extremely rare. Good centers are valuable, but I find that they're easily replaceable compared to 6'7" demigod defenders who are built in a lab. But at the end of the day, this comes down to the Cade factor, right? Who makes Cade's life easier? You might be saying, Bailey, it's Jalen Duren. They have one of the best 1-2 punches in the NBA. They work well like peanut butter and jelly. Don't get me wrong, that is valuable, very valuable. Having chemistry like that is rare, but he also occupies the same space that Cade would operate best in if not taken up. Ausar gives Cade an elite defensive player. He gives Cade an offensive weapon that attacks space rather than occupies it. Now, obviously, there's a world where it's all sunshine and rainbows and we keep Duren and Ausar on valuable contracts, reasonable contracts. Unfortunately, this is a big game of maybes. Maybe we get a reasonable contract for Ausar and Duren. Maybe Ausar figures out how to shoot a jump shot. Maybe Duren figures out how to shoot a jump shot. Maybe Duren becomes an all-perennial defender. If that happens, great. Awesome. I love that. That would be best case scenario. Unfortunately, you can't build a championship team assuming everything is going to work out the way you want it to. You have to identify which players in your team are truly untouchable. For me, it's Cade, and Ausar is almost in that conversation as well. Unfortunately, Duren is where I start to have that difficult conversation. So if the Pistons do eventually have to cross this path, my money is on Ausar staying and Jalen Duren leaving. The writing is kind of already on the wall. He wants $50 million a year. Unfortunately, Detroit can't keep everybody forever. At some point, the bills become due. Cade gets paid, Ausar gets paid, Duren's got to get paid. It's not rocket science. When those dollars do start to add up, you have to make some decisions on what kind of team you want to have. But let me know in the comments. I want to know what you guys are thinking. If you were the GM, what would you do? That's all I got for today, guys. If you want to see some of my previous videos, I'll put them right here. I talked about how Cade's legacy is out of his control and what I would personally do if I had to sign Jalen Duren. I appreciate all the love. This is my third video and you guys have already got me over to 100 subscribers. You guys are the best. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you guys have anything you want to hit me with, shoot me a comment and I'll talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.